Christ is risen.
Christos anesti. We still in the 50 days after Jesus' resurrection, and it's a very rich time, very rich, very, I want to say magnificent, exciting. Something very exciting happened. The gospel, actually, the story of Jesus is divided into two or maybe three pieces. The piece before his cross, the piece is from his cross all the way to the resurrection, and then after the resurrection. After the resurrection is actually magic. Something very extraordinary happens continuously with the apostles. For 40 days, they see the risen Lord. It's very exciting, extremely exciting. If you were there, you wouldn't know if you were dreaming, or you're awake, you're in real life, or you've been transformed to somewhere else. So Jesus visited them many, many, many times, and done a lot of things, and talked about a lot of things. And the church had a tradition that Jesus started talking about the church. Then, I told you about this, how Jesus, and let me see if you remember. I want to kind of poke your memory. We said when Jesus appeared outside in the beginning, nobody knew him. But they all knew him and saw him and touched him in the upper room. And I asked, why did that happen? What is this riddle? Can someone solve the riddle for me? Why would Jesus be invisible or unrecognizable? Nobody could recognize him outside. Although he was with them. He was Mary Magdalene. She thought he was. Mary Magdalene in the tomb. What did she think he was? The gardener. Thank you. Somebody's paying attention. The gardener. But then, what the two disciples of Emmaus going on their way, what did they think? What did they think that Jesus was? Do you remember? Mm-hmm.
They thought he was a man from somewhere else who didn't know that Jesus was
A stranger, right? A stranger who was visiting Jerusalem for the feast.
That's Emmaus.
That's the two disciples of Emmaus. Why? And I ask you a question, why did Jesus do that? Could he show himself to them? Of course. Of course he could. He could let them know who he is. But why did Jesus, like some of you today, come up disguised? You have some kind of play or something you're doing.
Spirit Week.
What do you mean?
Spirit Week is like a week where we do like sort of take a break from the uniforms and like
Put on something different.
yes.
And-
Today's Senior Day.
Oh,
So we have to dress.
that is why. That's why you have some stuff that looks like you're old. Right, so why did Jesus do that? He put on a different form. Remember? And I said, where is the place where they all recognized him? Don't forget this, please. This is important. What was the place they all recognized him? And nobody needed to guess who he was. Not only that, they were also able to touch him. They were also able to touch him, yes?
Thomas's house?
So, Mark, yes, St. Mark's. And what we call that? The upper room. In the upper room, everybody knew who he was. And I said, what was the answer to the riddle? Why Jesus was unknown outside? In the upper room, he was recognizable. And also, what was the day that he actually visited and they could see him? What was that day? Don't forget, what was the day? Thursday, Friday, Monday. Yes, yes. What was the day? Daniel, go ahead.
Wednesday.
Good pick, but it's not correct.
Thursday.
Huh?
Thursday.
Are you confusing them? What was the day that Jesus showed himself and everybody knew him?
Sunday.
Sunday! What was the upper room?
St. Mark's house.
It is the church. This is where Jesus actually took his bread and said, take, eat, this is
My body.
my body. Take, drink, this is my blood. So when Jesus did not show himself outside and show himself to the disciples on Sunday, every Sunday, the disciples had to be in the upper room on Sunday, every Sunday. Because they knew Jesus is going to have a rendezvous, an appointment, a date with his disciples that he loved a lot. So they always go back. And I asked you the question, remember, I said, why Thomas did not see Jesus on Monday? Why didn't he see him in Hans Theater, like I said?
What?
Why didn't he see him somewhere else in the street like the two disciples of Emmaus? Why did it have to be in the upper room? Because the upper room is
the first church.
The first church that Jesus was establishing. This is why we say, the church says that Jesus in the 40 days after his resurrection was teaching the disciples what to do in the church. You've heard that before? Say, he actually spent the time with them talking about the church and how he should manage the church. And the beginning of it, we don't really know what that means, but the beginning of it is that he actually got them used to see him clearly in the upper room on Sunday when they all come together. But then he moved them to Galilee, but they had also to be on Sunday together somewhere. From that time on, the church began to respect Sunday, and they call it in Greek, Kyriaki. Kyriaki means the day of the Lord. Sunday is the day of the Lord, the beginning of the week. And it fits because the beginning of the week is Sunday, not really the weekend. Let's tell you this. See, you think the weekend is Saturday and Sunday, Saturday and Sunday? No. It doesn't begin on Friday. The weekend is Saturday. But Sunday is the beginning of the new week. Because the second one is Monday, and Tuesday, then Wednesday, then Thursday, then Friday, and the seventh day is Saturday. But Sunday is the beginning of the week. Jesus is the beginning of our life. We begin in him. We begin with him. He created the old stuff, and now he's beginning again a new creation. Now, let me tell you what happened. So after he visited them on that Sunday, and then the disciples saw him on the next Sunday. Thomas was there, remember? And then Jesus told them, let's go to Galilee. So they moved to Galilee. And last time in the liturgy, I told you about the story of catching the big fish.
And Peter, when he was...
Nobody wondered this. So Peter was naked in the boat, and then when St. John told him, it is the Lord, what did he do?
He put on his clothes.
He covered himself because he's going
and
to
jumped in the water.
See the Lord, and it's not very appropriate to go to see the Lord and you're not covered. And that's why we say to go to see Jesus and to be in the church, you have to be properly dressed.
That's exactly what I was about to say.
Yeah, great. Thank you, David. But then nobody asked me, why did St. John say it's 153? Why is it 153? And this question I had with me for 10 years before I could find an answer. Why was the number of fish 153? And that's a trivia, you don't need to know. But I'm just going to ask if you're interested. Why 153? What's so special about 153?
One for each.
So the very special thing about 153, it is made of two square numbers. Can you figure out what the square number is made of? 153 is made of 144 and 9. What's this 144 a square of? 12. What's that number? The apostles. That's the number of the church.
Math.
The number of that's math. 12 times 12 is
144.
Square 12 is 124. 44. What is the 12 number for?
The apostles.
The apostles. It's the number of the church. Either the Old Testament church, which is 12 tribes, or the New Testament church, which is 12 apostles. What's left?
The 9.
9. What's the square number of?
3.
What's the 3?
The Holy
Father, Son, Holy Spirit. So when you square the church and square God, you got the perfect heaven. It's God in the church, perfectly and completely present. He said, this is an image. So the fathers of the church said, this is an image. Those of us who are old enough to understand this, an image of the end. The image of the end. The apostles are drawing us from the world. They go to Egypt, they bring people to God. They go to Greece, they bring people to God. They go to Germany, they go to America and bring people to God. The apostles didn't have America at the time, but I'm just saying, everybody's going to come to God from the world. When we're all in, all of a sudden we will see the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit perfectly. That's called the perfect heaven, the perfect church. So that's why this is just something for you to play with. But the story today is about Jesus ending this time, which is going to happen, which Thursday? Not coming Thursday. Is it coming Thursday?
Coming Thursday is Ascension.
The 20, is it?
Yeah.
This coming Thursday is the Ascension. So next Thursday, we're going to be here together, not tomorrow, the Thursday after, which will complete 40 days since Jesus rose from the dead, which is a very amazing, actually. 40 days, the apostles actually live in this magic world. Then Jesus tells them, okay, done, let's go back to Jerusalem.
Mount Olives.
They go back to Jerusalem, they see him again in the upper room, and then while they were meeting in the upper room, like a liturgy like this, they, not on Sunday, then he takes them with him, and they go to the Mountain of Olives. Mountain of Olives was where Bethany, remember Bethany when Jesus raised Lazarus? That's the place. You go from one mountain, go down and go to the up mountain, the other mountain. And he took them there on this mountain. Mountain of Olives is a little higher than Jerusalem. You stand on the Mountain of Olives, you see Jerusalem a little bit down before you. So he took them there, and then as they were walking on the road, and they're asking him questions, they didn't stop asking questions. They were like little children who wants to know everything. So they asked him, he said, he's telling them, don't leave Jerusalem. You're going to be given power from above. You're going to have something from my Father. Don't leave Jerusalem because you're going to have it there in the upper room. The same place that you saw me, you're going to receive power from above. You're going to be given the Holy Spirit.
That's exactly.
And they said, and so one of the apostles said, Lord, Master. So he said, what? He said, is it the time that Israel will be a glorious kingdom again? And I'm sure the Lord smiled. They were thinking about their country being the highest and the biggest and the most glorious country
like
in the
the
world.
Old Testament.
Like David.
Like the Old Testament.
And Solomon. They want to go back to that time. The apostles are very much interested. Will you turn Israel to be the greatest kingdom in the world? And the Lord, I'm sure, this is not written, but I'm sure he smiled. He said, you're not given the information that the Father have. My Father, is not giving you this. But then he said, when you get the Holy Spirit, you're going to talk about me. You're going to tell everyone about me, about my cross, in every language, everywhere around the world. And as he was talking to them, he did this. Like now a priest would hold a cross. Jesus didn't have a cross because he is crucified himself. They did this. And as he did this, they know, see, when Abuna blesses your Tunya, when Abuna blesses you in the time of the end of the liturgy or we all do what? Bow down. This is what they do. They know it. They didn't need to be invited to be. They were taught it from the very little, being little. When the rabbi and the priest raised their hands to bless, we bow to receive the blessing from God. So he raised his hands like this. And they all bowed down, knelt. And as he was blessing them, he was saying a blessing. Maybe something like this. May God bless you. May he shine his face upon you and grant you his favor or grace. As he was saying this, they felt like his voice is getting farther and farther and farther. They said he's moving. So I'm sure after a little bit, they started to not hear much about the words he's saying. They lifted their heads and they saw him actually floating up, going up. They started to stand up, and they looked at the heavens, and they saw him as he disappeared in a cloud. They couldn't see him anymore. And they kept doing this. So there were two angels standing, and dressed in white, looked like human beings, but they were angels. And they said to them, men of Galilee, here's where they come from, why are you looking at heaven? What are you expecting to see? Fireworks. Like aliens descending with a, what are you expecting to see? He is gone. And they said to him, this Jesus that you watch going to heaven will come back the same way from heaven. So they decided, okay, so the angels are telling us, done. We're not going to see him anymore. That's it.
It's in
We're
the
done.
flesh.
That was 40 days after the resurrection. And they went back to the upper room. What did they do in the upper room? Now, it was very exciting for them to pray. Why? Because their master, their Lord, is in heaven. So when they speak, they are actually speaking to him and through him to his Father, whom they never saw. By the way, the Father the disciples never saw. Jesus talked about him a lot, but they never saw the Father. But they also were excited because we're going to see also the Holy Spirit. We have never seen the Spirit before. And in 10 days, they didn't know when, but they said, Jesus told them shortly, you will see the Holy Spirit. He's going to come and be in you. But the Father, never saw him. When are we going to see the Father? I'm sure the apostles asked. When are we going to see the Father? Jesus said, when I come back. When I come back, that's the day that everyone of the church, of my body, people that belong to me, who are called Christians, will see my Father. And guess what? All what we're doing now, everything we're doing, trying to keep ourselves holy and confess and purify ourselves, is to prepare ourselves to see the Father. That is the most exciting thing ever.
But it's also the most terrifying.
And the most terrifying. Most terrifying. But it's because the Father is good, He's not going to terrify us. It's just that He is awesome. He is the source of everything that you know, including Jesus Himself. So, remember, so why did Jesus have to ascend? Why did He couldn't stay with us? Okay, we know that we're going to see the Father when Jesus comes back. Why did He have to go up? Why? Can you pray a liturgy if Abuna doesn't go into the altar? If Abuna stays here and you want to pray the liturgy and the altar is there, can I stay here with you, talking to you, and we're going to have a liturgy and communion? It's impossible. So for us to have our liturgy, for us to have the gift of the Holy Spirit, Jesus had to enter the altar in heaven to serve up there. Everything we do here is built on, is because Jesus is in heaven. If He's with us, we cannot have this. We get this? So if Abuna doesn't go into the altar, we cannot pray liturgy. If Christ doesn't go to heaven, we cannot have communion, we cannot have baptism, we cannot have the Holy Spirit, we cannot have nothing. You see what I'm trying to say? That is exactly the same. He is our high priest. He's in heaven with the Father, interceding and praying on our behalf, having a continuous liturgy so that we can actually get baptized, get communion, and prepare ourselves to see the Father. That's the only way that could have been done. I personally like Him to be here with us, but I have a choice. Either I have Him here or I get the Holy Spirit. And I prefer to have the Holy Spirit because without the Holy Spirit, I cannot prepare myself. Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and the Holy Spirit.